Welcome to my channel. I'm Ashley, and today our class is titled Happy Belly Yoga. And what that means is we are going to be doing some special things to help stretch and compress our abdominal region. And this is going to be very therapeutic for digestion, for stomach tightness, like muscle tightness, and all around just great for our whole wellness. We are going to be using a blanket today, so if you have something like this, go ahead and grab it. If you took my poll earlier this week, I asked, what type of challenge pose would you like to see in the next yoga class? And the number one was a forward fold. The second runner-up was an arm balance, so I decided we're going to combine the two, and there will be one challenging pose in this entire sequence that kind of goes along with this entire theme of our abdominal wellness. So if you're ready, so am I. Let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and take a comfortable seat, sitting up nice and tall, allowing your abdominal area to just relax, letting go of any tension. As you breathe full deep breaths into the deepest parts of your belly. And as you exhale, let it all out, pulling your belly up and in, trying to push out the last bit of air. Continue a few more breaths like this. And together, take a full breath in. Exhale, let it out with a long sigh. And gently open your eyes. Let's begin with a few rounds of cat and cow just to warm up our spines, to get the blood flowing. Take your hands under your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, and then round your spine. Bring your tailbone forward and your chin toward your chest. On an inhale, lengthen your spine, curl into your lower, middle, then upper back. Lift your chin and broaden your sitting bones apart by pushing knees down and wide. Continue back and forth, feeling the compression in the abdomen on the rounding and the lengthening on the lengthen on the back bend. Next inhale, come back to a neutral spine, flat back. Walk your hands forward a few inches. Walk your knees back a few inches. Curl your toes under. Push your hands down and forward, feet down and back to lift your knees. Maybe bend your knees, ribs to thighs, or straighten your legs, heels toward the floor. Right in the center of your abdomen, where your belly button is, draw a line up to just where your rib cage meets on both sides, right in the middle. And then pull that point in, and then all the way down to the pubic bone, pull in, then lengthen the sides of your body longer. Take your knees to the floor, a little wider than your hips. Bring your big toes together. Come into child's pose. Rest your forehead, tip of nose on the floor. Relax everything. Slide your arms back.
so that your arms, your shoulders are on your knees and your palms point up. Lift your hands off the floor and pull your shoulder blades onto your back. Push your arms up in space toward the ceiling. And then on your inhale, sit up using your arms to help lift you up. And then reach your arms all the way up. Exhale, bring your palms in front of your heart. Interlace your fingers. Take your palms right into your lower abdomen, right around below your navel. And then pull yourself forward over your thighs and fold as you exhale. Gentle compression in your belly, forehead to the floor. Continue deep breaths, as deep as you can go. Allowing your arms to basically give you kind of a massage just by sitting there. As your breath moves in and out, your abdominal area will expand and contract against your arms. On your next inhale, lengthen your spine, shoulders back, lift your chin. Push your weight through your shins and sit up. Inhale your arms back up. Exhale, palms in front of your heart. Shift forward so that you're on hands and knees, and bring your knees and ankles together, toes curled under. Slide your knees back toward your toes, and then have a seat on your heels. Interlace your fingers in front of you again, but this time backs of hands on top of head. Pull on each hand with each hand. Squeeze your fingers in. Then reach your arms towards straight as you rotate upper inner arms back. Pull your rib cage toward your spine. Push your tailbone forward and lengthen up through your spine, through the top of your head and through your palms as you root down through your hips into your heels. Take your hands to the floor again. Lean forward, tops of feet to the floor. Keep knees and ankles together. Sit back down on your heels. Interlace your fingers behind your lower back. Squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other. Then straighten your arms to your capacity, maybe elbows staying a little bent. Push your knuckles away from your hips as you reach them back toward the wall behind you. Then pull your rib cage toward your spine, round your spine, and then keep your hips on your heels and only take your head as low as you can keep hips down. That may mean you stay hovering above your legs. You may be able to take forehead to the floor for less spinal round, or round your spine even more, forehead to knees. Push up through your knuckles, shoulders away from the floor. Keep breathing even though your navel is pulling in. Keep your hands bound. Slowly inhale, sit up. Push your hips forward. Lean back. See if you can get knuckles to the floor. If not, separate your hands, fingertips, and if not, hands on hips. And start to do an upper back bend. Push your hips down like you're trying to stick your butt back. As you curl back, bring your shoulders back. Stretching the front. Slowly slide your hands in. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, palms in front of your heart. Hands forward at the front of your mat, downward dog. Walk your feet up to your hands. Keep your feet about hip distance apart. Bend your knees so your ribs and thighs touch. Then grab your blanket. Roll it up so that it's in a tight roll and it expands out a little wider on the edges than your legs. That way, You can take this blanket roll, take it and wedge it right up in your hip crease area. Pull your belly forward so your rib cage passes the blanket, and then start to fold on top of the blanket. Try to let any tension in your belly go. And you can just hang out here grabbing onto your legs or have your hands on the floor. If you want, you can also take elbows with your hands. That's a little more intense with the blanket roll. And the goal is not to take your face to your shins for this one because the blanket's kind of in the way. It's just for pressure in that abdominal area. Take deep breaths. If you start to feel nauseated at all, just take the blanket out. You can try longer again another time. Bend your knees, keeping your blanket where it's at. And then lift your heels up and set your bottom down toward your heels, keeping the blanket where it's at. Bring your palms together, elbows to knees. Otherwise, feel free to keep hands on floor. Take your fingers back to the floor. Lean forward, lift hips, lower your heels. Fold again. We're going to do a few reps. Bend your knees, lift your heels. Hips to heels, elbows to knees, palms together. Keep breathing. Hands to floor, hips up, heels down. Fold. Last one. Knees forward, heels up, hips to heels. Elbows to knees, palms together. Hands to the floor, hips up. Take your hands to your blanket, lift your belly off your blanket and set your blanket to the side. Bend your knees if you need, or straight legs, ribs to thighs, fold forward. Pull your rib cage toward the floor, toward your feet. You can grab onto your legs, either grabbing onto your ankles or backs of your calves, or even your whole forearm behind your calves as you pull your rib cage toward the floor. And your heart this time do fold toward your legs. Shoulders away from your ears and onto your back. Deep breaths. Push through your heels. Push your heels down and apart. Push through your inner feet. Flare your toes. Next inhale, lengthen your spine. Walk your feet back. Down dog. Take your knees to the floor. Take your blanket roll. Re-roll it if it came undone at all. Put it around just above the middle of your mat toward the top. And then we're going for just below your rib cage on the blanket, so your upper abdomen. Take forearms to the floor, elbows under shoulders for Sphinx. Curl your toes under and lift your knees off the floor by pushing your toes down and back. Then push your elbows, forearms down and back to pull yourself forward. While you're not moving, you're stretching more on the front of your abdomen, all with a little pressure with the blanket, but the blanket also being helpful by lifting you up. Lower your knees. Lift up your ribs and your abdomen a little bit, pushing your arms down. And then scoot your legs, your hips over to the left and roll onto your right hip. You may need to unroll this blanket roll a little bit in order for it to be more comfortable, but wedge the blanket roll so that it's right above your hip bone on the side. And then what we're gonna do is slide right arm as far forward as you can and drop your head to your arm. Your legs can totally be bent, or you can try balancing with straight legs and then stay here, or take your left arm over your ear, palms together, getting into that side of your abdomen and also the side of your back, right where the two meet. Do push through your right hip and through your right arm to help you stay up. Small, little muscle activity. Take your hand, your left hand to the floor in front of your chest, and then use that to help lift you up. Slide your right arm back, and then flip onto your other hip. Again, wedging the blanket roll right above your hip bone. Slide your left arm forward. Each side will feel a little different. Make sure you're not leaning forward into your rib cage. And then take your head to your arm, maybe your right arm over your ear, palms together. Push through your left arm and left hip. Grow your legs longer if they're straight. Take your right hand in front of your chest. Bend your knees, lift yourself up. Keep the blanket roll where it is. You might need to scoot it down a little bit so you have mat underneath your body. We're aiming the blanket roll right above your hips, right around, right above your pubic bone region. I'm just gonna set your hips down on top of that. And then just pull yourself forward and let your ribs and then your chest and then your head come to the floor. Maybe make a pillow with your hands for your head. And for this one, you can just relax everything. Gently lift your head up. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up. All right, here we go. This next one is Mayurasana Prep. So we're going to take our blanket roll right where we had it before, right into our hip creases. And then bring your knees a little bit wider than your hips with your inner ankles together. All right, now we're going to pull forward over the blanket and then take your elbows and just push them into the blanket roll. So you have tightness here. Squeeze into this tight little ball and then take your palms to the floor. We're turning our fingers toward our feet, thumbs pointing out, and you can have your hands a couple inches apart or fingers together, pinky fingers right next to each other. You can stay here, and this is totally fine, or slide your knees forward a little. Lengthen your spine here first, then pull your shoulders back and round your spine, bringing your chest first, then your head last, head to the floor. Now you can stay here or lift your right leg straight back and then lower your toes to the floor, curled under, and hold. Pull your knee back. And then do the same thing with your left leg. Take your left leg straight back, and then toes curled under on the floor, hold. Push your elbows into your blanket. Bring your knee back. You can use your knee to pull your blanket back up to your armpits, and then slowly lean back and sit up. Take your blanket roll out, roll your wrists, maybe stretch out your abdomen a little bit. And now we're going to go for something a little further. Reset your blanket the same way you just had it, up into your hip creases, and then wedge your elbows down into your blanket. Get as deep as you can. Take your hands, turn them backwards, and then slide your knees forward. Lengthen your spine, pull your shoulders back, and then round forward, heart first, head to the floor last. Good. Now from here, stay, or keep pulling your shoulders away from the floor. Push more weight into your hands than your head. Step 1 foot back. Doesn't matter which one. Toes curled under. Push through your back foot. Step your other foot back. Toes curled under. Round your spine. All right? We're here. Stay here. Or tops of feet to the floor. Push your feet down so your knees lift up. Shoulders back, push palms down, maybe lift your head. Look forward. Head down, knees down. And then you can take your elbows out first or sit up. Take your blanket roll out. All right, roll your wrist a few times. All right, we're gonna try Mayurasana without any props, and it's the same exact setup. You might find it easier or harder. Go ahead and bring your feet together, toes curled under, knees wide. Take your elbows, wedge them down toward your navel, palms flat to the floor. It is easier to take your hands like 1 or 2 inches apart. Gives you a little bit more of something to set your abdomen on. Now from here, slide your knees forward, lengthen your spine, shoulders back, round, forehead to the floor. Stay here, or step 1 foot back at a time, toes curled under, push into your hands. Push your feet down, lift your hips and your ribs off your elbows, and then round your spine, take your belly back down to your elbows. Now tops of feet to the floor, lift your head, stay here, or push your hands down and back, and maybe lift your feet off the floor. And try not to fall over. All right. Whenever you're finished, lie down on your back, but keep your blanket roll nearby. Take your feet on the floor so they're hip distance. And then 1 at a time, walk your shoulders underneath you. Push your head, shoulders, and feet down to lift your hips up. You can just do regular bridge, grab the outer edges of your mat, or interlace your fingers underneath you, walk your shoulders in. Or you can do a more restful version. Take your whatever hand you can to your blanket roll, and then take your blanket roll and set it up somewhere under your hips. Make sure it's behind your sacrum, not your low back, and not all the way into the middle of your bottom. You can stay here, straighten your legs. Take some deep breaths. Relax your belly.
Bend your knees, place your feet flat, and then lift your hips off your blanket roll, take it out. Then take your feet and your knees about as wide as your hips are wider. And do windshield wipers, letting your knees go side to side, back and forth. Because we stretched our abdomen, doing minor twists or windshield wipers can sometimes give us a little spinal adjustment because we unlocked a lot of the fascia in our abdomen. Bring your knees back to center. Then from here, take your left leg straight, hook your right toes behind your left knee, left hand to outer right thigh. Take your left hip to the floor, let your right hip lift up and twist. Your right knee does not have to come to the floor. You can hover it above. Use your left hand pushing into your outer thigh and your thigh pushing into your hand to help rotate your outer right hip away from your right shoulder toward your foot. Come back to center. Straighten your right leg, bend your left knee, hook your left toes under your right knee, twist, right hand to left thigh, push thigh and hand into each other as you come onto your outer right hip. Rotate outer left hip away from your shoulder. Slowly untwist. From inside your legs, grab outside your feet, happy baby, pushing feet and hands into each other. Gently rock side to side. Massage your back. Feel free to play with bending and straightening one knee, maybe both legs, whatever feels good and appropriate in your body. Slide your hands to the tops of your ankles, pull heels to hips, let your knees go wide. Let your legs relax, and gravity just pulling your legs toward the floor while your hands hold your feet up. Allow your upper shoulders to relax as well, allowing the pull of your legs on your hands to stretch your upper trapezius muscle right between your neck and shoulders. Then use your hands to pull your legs back in. Wrap your arms around your legs. Give yourself a hug. Again, feeling free to rock side to side or in circles. And whenever you feel ready, slide all the way into Shavasana to rest. Enjoy your breath. Take a full breath in. Exhale, let it out with a sigh. Bring gentle movements back into your body. Maybe stretch your arms over your head. Reach your legs and arms in opposite directions. And then gently bend your knees, roll over to your side. Taking your time, press yourself up to seated. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. If you enjoyed this practice, please hit the like button and leave a comment if you have anything you want to share. I also do graciously accept donations via Venmo and Cash App at Ashley G Yoga. That's my handle for both. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.